Gauff reinvents herself against Swiatek, from always losing to winning 4 consecutive matches. Among players of such a high level, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes sports bring us some exceptions. For example, let's talk about the rivalry between Iga Swiatek and Gauff, 2 women who have been in the global top 3 for a while. Did you know that the Polish player won 11 out of the first 12 matchups? Quite a feat that was hard to understand, although no punishment lasts forever. Something has changed in recent times, to say the least. After what happened this afternoon at the United Cup 2026, the American now has 4 consecutive victories over the Polish player, 3 on hard courts and 1 on clay. Proof that sometimes it only takes a little time to solve the problem. Gauff reinvents herself against Swiatek, from always losing to winning 4 consecutive matches. There was a time when Gauff's matches against Iga Swiatek felt like chapters from the same book, reread again and again with a different cover but the same ending. The rallies were long, the scorelines ruthless, and the verdict nearly inevitable. Swiatek, relentless and precise, stood as the embodiment of a problem Gauff could not yet solve. For the young American, the Polish star was not merely an opponent but a mirror reflecting everything she still needed to become. And then, something shifted. It did not happen in one dramatic night or with a single thunderous winner down the line. Reinvention rarely announces itself so loudly. Instead, it arrived quietly, through patience, humility, and the courage to dismantle parts of herself that once felt permanent. When Gauff finally turned the rivalry on its head, winning not once, not twice, but 4 consecutive matches, it was not just a statistical anomaly. It was a story of transformation. The weight of always losing. To lose repeatedly to the same opponent is a unique psychological burden. It is different from inconsistency or bad form. It creates a narrative, and narratives are dangerous in sport. They grow roots. They whisper during warm-ups and shout during break points. For Gauff, Swiatek represented inevitability. The world #1's heavy topspin, ruthless depth, and ability to absorb and redirect pace exposed Gauff's earlier limitations with brutal clarity. Matches ended quickly, sometimes painfully so, and each loss added another layer to the myth. Coco cannot beat Iga. The tennis world absorbed that story. Commentators analyzed it. Fans repeated it. Even well-meaning praise carried a hidden sting. She's young, she'll learn. But learning is not linear, and potential does not protect you from doubt. Gauff, still in her teens when many of these losses piled up, faced a choice few athletes consciously acknowledge: either accept the narrative or rewrite it. Reinvention begins in silence. Reinvention in tennis is rarely glamorous. It happens away from cameras, on practice courts where no applause follows a perfect drill. For Gauff, it began with an honest audit of her game. Not a denial of her strengths, her speed, athleticism, and competitive fire, but a ruthless assessment of her weaknesses. Against most players, her backhand held firm. Against Swiatek, it broke under pressure. Her forehand, explosive but erratic, became a liability when Swiatek dragged her wide and deep. Serve patterns grew predictable. Most crucially, Gauff often played reactively, allowing Swiatek to dictate not just rallies, but the emotional temperature of the match. The reinvention required more than technical tweaks. It demanded a philosophical shift, from surviving points to constructing them, from hoping for errors to forcing discomfort. Gauff did not try to become Swiatek. That would have been a dead end. Instead, she worked toward becoming a sharper, braver version of herself. The tactical awakening. The first visible sign of change was tactical clarity. Gauff began stepping into the court against Swiatek, taking time away rather than surrendering it. Her forehand swing shortened, trading raw power for controlled aggression. Cross-court rallies that once favored Swiatek now ended with Gauff changing direction early, breaking patterns before they hardened. She learned to serve with intent, not just pace, jamming the body, pulling Swiatek wide, opening space for the next shot. Net approaches became calculated weapons rather than desperate escapes. But tactics alone do not explain 4 consecutive wins. Tennis history is full of players who briefly solved a puzzle only to lose the solution under pressure. What separated this version of Gauff was mental recalibration. From hope to belief. The most radical transformation happened in Gauff's posture, how she walked between points, how she looked across the net. Hope had been replaced by belief, and belief is heavier. It demands accountability. In their earlier encounters, a lost service game often felt terminal. In the new chapter, breaks against her became inconveniences, not disasters. Gauff began responding to adversity with intention instead of emotion. Long rallies no longer drained her spirit, they energized her. This was not bravado. It was earned confidence, built through preparation and repetition. Winning the first match against Swiatek after so many losses cracked the psychological wall. Winning the second weakened it. By the third and fourth, the wall no longer existed. The narrative flipped. Now it was Swiatek who faced a question: why is this not working anymore? 4 wins, 1 evolution. Each victory in the streak told a slightly different story. One was about resilience, another about aggression, another about composure under pressure. Together, they formed a mosaic of growth. Gauff did not dominate Swiatek by overpowering her. She outthought her. She absorbed pressure without surrendering initiative. She played the big points with clarity, not fear. Perhaps most importantly, she allowed herself to win, without apology, without disbelief. The rivalry transformed from inevitability into uncertainty, which is the purest form of competition. What reinvention really means. Gauff's 4-match streak against Swiatek is not just a tennis statistic. It is a case study in self-authorship. Too often, young athletes are defined by early results, their futures constrained by premature conclusions. Gauff refused that confinement. Reinvention does not mean abandoning who you are. It means refining it until your strengths can breathe under pressure. It means listening when the game exposes you, instead of arguing with it. In defeating Swiatek repeatedly, Gauff did not erase her past losses. She repurposed them. Each defeat became data. Each frustration, fuel. Beyond the rivalry. What makes this transformation especially compelling is what it suggests about Gauff's future. Beating the world's most dominant player multiple times is not just about solving one matchup. It signals adaptability, resilience, and maturity, qualities that separate champions from contenders. Rivalries evolve. Swiatek will adjust. The pendulum may swing again. But something irreversible has already happened. Gauff knows she belongs, not as a challenger hoping for cracks, but as an equal capable of shaping outcomes. That knowledge cannot be unlearned.